Hello everybody and welcome! Today we're going to combine two things I enjoy and that are in some ways more similar than you might think. Kerbal Space Program and 3D printing. If you've ever struggled to get your rocket into orbit or wondered why your 3D print failed midway, by the end of this video you will probably agree that there are parallels between the two of them. In this video I'm going to highlight how lessons learned from designing and fabricating objects in the physical world mirror the challenges of building spacecraft in KSP for a complex mission that can survive the rigors of interplanetary travel, landing and return. If you enjoy all things related to space and space travel and/or space simulation games like KSP or the upcoming Kitten Space Agency, make sure you hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss a thing. But for now, let's look at 4 things 3D printing and KSP have in common. And we start at the basics, because in both we build from the ground up. No, that was not a semi-clever pun related to how 3D printers put layer upon layer when creating an object. What I mean is that if you want either your print or your rocket to succeed, you need to understand how to design what you want to use. Sure, there are ready-made print templates from Thingiverse or printables, just like there are finished KSP craft files on Kerbal X or the Steam Workshop. But once you have a very specific application that needs a very specific tool, or spacecraft for that matter, you need to understand how it works to really leverage what you have at your disposal, be it 3D printer and filament, or the rocket parts in KSP. When designing something to print, you need to think about what material you want to use. For instance, does it need to be heat resistant? How flexible does it have to be? You also need to think about structural integrity. How much stress is going to be put onto that finished printed object? Do you really need that much infill, or can you get away with less to save on filament costs? And when you start building your rocket, you need to consider thrust-to-weight ratios, specific impulse, payload dimensions, etc. Sure, when in doubt in KSP, add more boosters to get your contraption into orbit. That is something you cannot translate into the world of 3D printing. At least, I don't think so. Either way, at one point you will struggle in both areas. And that leads us to learning from failure. If you ever played Kerbal Space Program at least once, you know that your rockets will fail at some point. Either because you made a mistake designing it, or because you messed up your staging, or because the Kraken decided to pay you a visit. But each failure teaches you something new about what went wrong, whether it was a design flaw, a faulty maneuver, or a misunderstanding of how physics works, or should work. It is the same with 3D printing. You can mess up a print because you forgot something while designing the thing, or you forgot to add supports, or you just have bad luck and your print ends up in plastic spaghetti on the bed. Or the filament decides to take up permanent residence in your print head. But each failure provides you with another data point, another learning opportunity. Unfortunately, in contrast to KSP, where the only resource spent is your time, failing a print can cost you. Either because you wasted filament, or because what you printed does not provide enough structural support for an expensive thing it was supposed to carry, or because you damage your printer for some reason, which should be a very rare exception, to be honest. Still, while you have quick save and revert to launch in Kerbal Space Program, you should strive even more to learn from mistakes when attempting to do some complex prints. Fortunately, you don't always have to learn from your own mistakes, but can learn from the experience of others, because there are often useful hints in the descriptions of models that you can download from the various maker platforms. Make sure you read them first before firing up that printer. It's kind of the equivalent of check your staging. But when you keep that in mind and you keep learning, in the end you will master the universe. Okay, that was a bit much, I admit it. Then again, if you play Kerbal Space Program long enough, you will get a better understanding of how orbital mechanics work. You will appreciate things like the rocket equation, Hohmann transfers, and aerobraking. It's kind of a gateway drug into physics, because why stop at our solar system? If you invest a little more time, you will be able to unlock a deeper understanding of the universe. That's on the macroscopic scale. On the microscopic scale, 3D printing forces you to grapple with real-world engineering principles on a much smaller level. You learn about thermal expansion, material strength, tolerances, and how to design something that works when sliced into fractions of a millimeter. Alright, you might not be an almighty ruler of the galaxy after learning KSP and 3D printing, but your understanding of the world will be enhanced. And you don't have to do it alone, because the community is strong. KSP would not be what it is now if it weren't for the community. No matter if modding or tutorials or just weird and fun creations, guilty as charged here, Kerbal Space Program offered a canvas and we all painted on it. Some were masterpieces, some were utter nonsense, but we all had fun for over a decade. And still do. And I hope this positive spirit will continue. And similarly, a lot of innovations in the 3D printing space would not have been possible without people sharing knowledge and helping each other out. I already mentioned platforms like Thingiverse and Printables. People not only create awesome stuff, they readily share their creations with the world. And through remixes, new ideas are born and thrown out into the world. I myself have mostly printed very custom things so far. I created a tool holder for my 3D printing stuff that would fit inside my small server rack. I made a bespoke battery charging station to fit on my desk so I can charge my gamepad, GoPro and DSLR batteries without all those chargers bouncing around and being in the way. And for my other hobby, mountain biking, I created something to hold my front axle when transporting my bike in my car. I also made an action cam chin mount for full-face helmets. Link to that is in the description if you're into mountain biking yourself. And also a link to my mountain biking channel, which I only upload to once in a blue moon. But hey, if you want to see me bumbling through the woods, well, go and subscribe there as well. Alright, those were my 4 things that KSP and 3D printing have in common. No matter if you're fine-tuning that ultimate landing vehicle or fiddling with a 3D model, you're engaging in a remarkably similar journey of engineering, problem-solving, and iterative design. Both fields offer incredible opportunities for learning and creative expression, turning complex concepts into tangible achievements. If you can afford a 3D printer, that is. I want for the Prusa Core 1, mainly because it is made in Europe, everything is repairable if the need arises, and I wanted to support both of those things. But there are a lot of cheaper alternatives out there. If they're better, well, that's something you have to decide for yourself. And something I hope you will decide is to sign up for my Patreon to support what I do here almost every week. For a small monthly contribution, you get perks like watching all videos completely ad-free, since YouTube has started to fill more and more of those into each minute of video on this platform. If you choose one of the higher tiers on Patreon or when signing up as a YouTube member, your name will show up right here. Well, actually left here from my point of view, but right from here. You get the idea. A huge thank you to all these amazing supporters. If you haven't yet, sign up now. Link is in the description. I guess all I have to do now is find a cool model of a Kerbal or make one myself to print. And I need green filament. Anyone got a suggestion which one might be good for this application? Also, do you have a 3D printer? Are you interested in getting one? Me? I wasn't sure whether or not it would be worth it to get one, but everyone in the family already used it and keeps using it. This thing is now a mainstay in our household. We may not fire it up every day, but at least once a week there's something we need it for. So yeah, be it cool rockets or fancy prints, time to make something.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel for more and follow me on my social thingies. The links are in the description. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.